If you can just turn a gear quickly and get your speed up, the climb at Red Bull looked a little bit longer and maybe required a little bit more talent. But
but you're exactly right, because you look at the breakdown there, and to give Phil Guyman some credit, he can go uphill really well, but it's not long enough. I mean, so he's getting smoked, in the placement field for a minute plus climb. It's going to be the case. I mean, some sprinter, Jeff Linder, who does real well in the finish, holds 800 watts or something for a minute.
It's pretty cool to see Phil show up.
I agree.
That's all I wanted to do, set you up.
No, with he had the vegan cyclist had the drone following him.
Oh, really?
Oh, Jesus
that's cool.
Christ! That's what gets you excited.
Seen it?
We should watch this.
Can I pull it up?
It's like I just threw some hundreds down on the ground here.
Can we pause
in the ghetto.
Quit your team today.
Who is that?
Wout Van Aert.
Oh, well, let's talk about that. Welcome to Between Two Wheels podcast. Hey,
Mr. Orange.
Between Two Wheels podcast. This is the most unique situation. No, we had some interesting ones at the Tour of California. There's Tyler Janke, venues I'm talking about. Tyler Janke, Chris
Chico
Flower, yes, and Curt Mills. What was the unique one at Chico besides our?
It was the hotel room. Laying in the beds after the
easy
road race.
Yeah, we're in a parking lot right now. This is how we have to get this done. We're it's better, a rest stop might be more suspect with the three of us, but parking lot sitting on the ground is how we're doing it today. Welcome. How you guys doing?
Yeah.
What kind of bike activities you been doing?
Tyler, not many bike activities. All three of us have been golfing within the last few days. That might be our new hobby. So hopefully we can get re-engaged in bikes within the next 3 months. So that we can partake in the 2019 race season.
Definitely more golf than bikes lately.
Right, and Chris had a car. So we did a team camp the end of the year, kind of a decompression camp.
I thought that was the start of altitude training.
This is such a better idea than at the beginning of the year, because we didn't do much riding. We did a lot of boating and golf, and there were some other adult beverages and stuff to be had. So. Anyway, let's talk about some bike racing. It's been a while since we've joined up here. The Vuelta's gone on. A lot of racing in the World Tour. We've got a bunch more transfers taking place. Local racing. Northern California, we've had Oakland, Bay Hill, Hill Climb, TT Masters, and Elites. I don't know if the Elites were in there too, right?
Just the Masters.
Yeah. TT Championships.
Giro, San
Francisco. Yeah, what's your favorite of all those, Curt? Which one are you most salivating to talk about?
The Oakland Grand Prix.
You want to start with that, or do you want to start with the World Tour?
Why don't we start with the World Tour?
Okay, well, so we had the Vuelta. The Vuelta, big. Last we left off, it was stage 9. I'm now going to walk us stage by stage. No, let's not do that. Big revelation. You had Simon Yates ends up getting the win. I don't know about convincingly, but he did well. And it was really interesting to see coming off the back of the Giro. We've done races where immediately you're done with the race and you're kind of like, oh, I want to get out there. I need to do this race again because I just messed up. He had the prime example of being able to do that, screwing up the Giro, instantly coming back with the Vuelta and fixing it, figuring it out. What did you think of his victory, Curt?
I mean, it was good to see him snap back. Good for British cycling to take another Grand Tour this season. It was a great chance at redemption. You don't have to go through the whole offseason thinking, what could have been. He was able to get a Grand Tour victory under his belt, and now he can hopefully relax and enjoy the next few months.
His glasses, what do you think of those?
The last day, they were pretty terrible throughout, but I'm also getting old, so I don't really know what the style is.
That's a good point.
Okay.
What did you think of the Vuelta there, Chris?
I didn't see much of it, to be honest, so I kind of caught what I could through cycling news updates and things like that. But it was good to see Yates rebound after having such a drastic blow apart at the Giro. You got to wonder if it was having some family support there with his brother there to help him out and help him through the tougher stages, or maybe ride in his place when he was feeling a little fatigued. Twin doping, I think, is what we talked about.
Yeah.
But it was the bits and pieces I did see was pretty cool. Did he win any stages in the race there?
I believe he did win a mountaintop stage. Yes, he did.
Okay.
So I missed the twin doping. Is that where the idea is that Adam literally puts on the red jersey for a day or two and then Simon can just chill in the pack?
I can't take credit for this idea. I think it was Lionel Burney of the Cycling
Okay.
Podcast. And his thing earlier was, they just need to do twin doping where one of them, you don't know where he's at in the world, but somehow, they're just swapping each other out day by day in the race. So you basically race half the race.
Weren't there days that Adam basically just hardly participated in the race?
Yeah, so maybe they were doing that in the same race instead of like one hiding in the bus all night.
Right, so maybe that was Simon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they just one would ride, the other would sit in and just kind of recover in the group. And
yeah, how do you test for that?
DNA, I don't know.
But is that I don't
markers?
think
I don't know. But I honestly, I'm not a doctor. Let's ask one. I'm sure there's markers to be able to tell which
you've
child
talked
is.
about bringing a doctor on, and now we have a topic.
We have a few topics, but yeah, this is just one more topic.
Sure.
Do they have fingerprints on file?
There you go, fingerprints maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about
This
that.
seems technology. I bet this is something the UCI is actually going to check into because they seem to go down rabbit holes of useless testing. In my opinion, of things that they really get worked up about. Although they had the rule about no high socks, and I don't see that being enforced very well.
I'm glad that they have that rule though, because
But
it makes a big deal. And
But have
big
you seen them in
difference.
the TTs? I mean, they're knee highs.
Yeah.
It's like grandpa out there.
I know locally we've got folks who are doing it.
Not anymore. They've corrected that behavior.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Why did what were they like considered compression socks or something? Or
I have no idea.
I think
Okay.
that was the
Concern.
original reason to do it. And
Okay.
and then you get some of these guys that they have a TT bike that they last minute are making changes to, where just earlier in the stage race. This does what I didn't hear about this in the Vuelta, but I heard about it this year. I'm trying to remember which race it was. Guy does a race, the prologue. It might have been the Giro. And his bike tests fine, no changes. And at the start of the TT later on, they're telling him it's not valid, so he's got to make quick changes.
Oh, you're talking about just like the spec measurements for the
Yeah,
TT
yeah.
bike?
So, yeah.
A little bit of variability in the UCI testing jigs can lead to you being acceptable on one jig and not acceptable on another jig, and it's wonky stuff. So.
Yeah. So my point is, I'm sure they'll be doing twin doping testing here pretty soon, because that just seems something the UCI would do.
They'll just give them an armband; they can't take it off. That way, they can identify them from each other.
Well, as far as the race goes, we had some pretty cool winners here. EF Education First actually starts getting wins. So Simon Clark, was it? And Mike Woods. You had Ben King with 2 wins. Did BMC? I don't remember if BMC.
for a different team, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just you got American connection there, right? American team. Simon Clark with that. Mike Woods, he's North American, but the American team, and then you have Ben King, who is American, huh?
Okay. Yes, he's okay.
Those were 2 teams that had an American connection, and they hadn't had any wins, and they kind of broke through for the Vuelta this year, and it was good to see.
Yeah, it was good to see North Americans actually doing well for a change.
I think Simon Clark's Australian though.
But he rides for EF Education
Okay.
First, which is
It is an American team,
right.
with an Australian connection with Drapac.
Right.
We'll give it half credit.
And the Mike Wood.
Third credit.
Did you see that stage? It was pretty.
You reenacted it for me, I think, at one point. So I think I have an idea as to what it looked like.
Yeah,
It's pretty dramatic.
It was because it was very steep at the top, and he was almost getting caught, and he kind of went out maybe few hundred meters quick. I mean, it was just super steep, and so.
And you said it was gravel, right?
And there was some gravel near the top of it too. Yeah.
Okay. Not in the last
Yeah.
500 meters.
I think
there?
it was the last few hundred meters.
Was there?
There was 1 or 2 stages that had that. I don't know if it was that one actually.
Okay.
In my mind, it is. So.
Yeah, this is not the most comprehensive Vuelta recap, but
I think we're doing a great job, though.
I remember it was a little misty that day.
yeah,
Right?
really foggy.
And then the coverage of the chase groups, the ones that like the red jersey group, was almost non-existent. And what we ended up getting was an awful lot of coverage of Nairo Quintana, who was
Dropped.
like in chase 3, I think it was, maybe a minute and a half behind the red jersey group at that point. But I think the cameras or the motorcycles just couldn't get through, and so we didn't get a lot of the action from the red jersey group that day.
Yeah, that was one of those days where we said they needed split screen, and this seemed every time they would go back to the GC group, as soon as the guy would attack, they'd hurry and go back to the front. It was just whatever. I don't know.
Or
I guess there's
drones.
certain, huh?
What about drones?
Yeah, well, drones might not have been so good for that race. because it was foggy. But yeah, but
the thing is, you can fly them so low,
right?
Like it's not like a helicopter,
right?
Okay.
So tell me about it. Is my understanding you can do like put something on? You have a drone that will specifically follow you without you having to man it. Like let's say I'm going riding and it'll just hover and follow me.
Yeah, we've seen locally, the Vegan Cyclist has done a couple.
I was wondering because I saw his video today.
Yeah, he's done a couple of podcasts where I don't know if it's an app on your phone or it's some other beacon that you throw in your back pocket, and the drone just kind of follows that. And that coverage or that footage that he's done has been spectacular. It was really cool to watch. So I was impressed by it. It'd be amazing to see, something like that. I'd imagine that they could do some sort of switching on a drone that says, follow the beacon on Nairo Quintana. Okay, now follow the beacon on this guy. That'd be kind of neat.
I think there'd be some challenges with battery life. We saw that on Vegan Cyclist's blog.
Right.
That battery life is a little iffy, so they need a bigger unit. And I don't think his was sending live feed, but it was just recording. So in order to get live feed, they'd have to kind of spruce up their machine. But the technology is definitely there, and it was really cool to see his blog show it in action.
Would that bigger unit be a Mario Kart?
No,
probably not.
I don't know what the production budget of the Vegan Cyclist is, but I would assume that they have some money for like
it might be
a tour, or you got to be able to afford a few batteries, for 20 minutes at a time or 15 or whatever those are. You could still get some good coverage.
I would think so.
Yeah. And then there's disposable drones at that point. They just tumble down the cliff when they're...
Well, they better upload first. So speaking of Nairo, it was really interesting. Maybe the Nairo getting dropped we were talking about there, it wasn't that day, but it was the last 2 days where Nairo's up the road in the break, like with Kreuzwick, and the other day with like Pino and Yates, and he pulls out because Valverde's in second place, about 33 seconds behind. He's in a group behind, and he drops himself from that group, goes back, and starts to help Valverde come up. It's the first time I've really seen Movistar not try to get two guys on the podium and sacrifice. And it's maybe one of the first times I've like, hey, if Nairo, and I was going to actually do the math, if he had just not gone back there and stayed with those guys, I wonder if he would have actually leapfrogged into the top three rather than catapulting himself off of the race and same with Valverde, because they flopped.
It almost looked like he was doing a lot of work to shell Valverde out of his group, because he was on the lead, like one of the top 2 or 3 guys pushing the pace in that group, before I think he got some kind of call from the radio that said, hey, you just hammered Valverde off the back, go get him. Because he was definitely doing a lot of work, and then initially it looked like he had blown himself up, but then he went back for Valverde. You're talking about stage 20, right?
Well, on stage 20, yeah, he went back. Well, he did that both times, 19 and 20.
I didn't see 19.
Yeah, he did this exact same thing both times. He came back, and then he had 19. He got dropped, and 20 he kept dropping. I mean, Valverde was just hanging on. He just kept getting rid of him.
Right. How much time did he lose on 20?
Like I want to say like
minutes,
30 or something, more than that.
Remember when the Lakers got Karl Malone and Gary Payton?
Yeah.
Doesn't that team sort of remind you of that? Like they just don't quite. I mean, there's a lot of good pieces, but maybe Valverde's a little old, and maybe Nairo doesn't quite know how to win yet, or something. Like there's something weird about the way those guys all race together. They're just not. It's not real cohesive.
Did you want
I would say, they don't necessarily race together. I mean, they don't collaborate much.
There you go.
Well, that's why this is like the first time I've seen them trying to collaborate, and then they didn't know what to do about it. It was almost a mess. Let's go back to Malone and
okay.
That didn't work out. I mean, they were a little more past their prime, but you're talking about Nairo not really learning how to win. I actually looked at his stats, and he comes out, does a Vuelta his first year, like 30 something, but then like second, and starts getting second in the Giro. He ends, he wins the Giro, he wins the Vuelta, and he had all these results that are besides his first Grand Tour that are top 3, top 5, and now he's like 8, 12. I mean, he's like pitching himself out, not even close, and he's young still. But new Colombian on the board is Superman Lopez.
There's a handful of new Colombians on the board.
Right, so maybe we talk about the top 3 was Yates, you had Enric Mas, and Lopez. I think they're all, 26 and below. The top second and third were fighting it out for the young rider jersey.
Right.
So Tyler, if the Vuelta has longer climbs, do you think Lopez places as well as he did this year?
Well, he was on the podium in the Giro, which has the longer climbs. I don't know. I mean, that was you had made a comment to me, and I had heard, and I looked it up, and it was like I think there were 2 climbs in the whole Giro or the Vuelta that were over 10, double digits. It wasn't very much. It was really I don't know. It didn't have the Dumoulin type, and I enjoyed that more. But I don't. You think? So your question was, would Lopez have done better if they were longer climbs? I don't.
My question was actually, I didn't think he was quite as good a specialist as some of those other guys. And generally,
I agree.
You always lose like a Richie Porte and some others with injuries, like that's
or Richie Porte.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've always thought he was more of a sort of a jumpy, like short climb. Like
Lopez.
Like a 10-kilometer climb. He can usually jump at the end and maybe get 10, 15 seconds or something. But on a longer climb, he might have trouble, have a bad day.
You're right. I mean, I think that too. But like I said, he was top 3 at the Giro this year, which has a lot of those. And I feel like he came in the Giro. The results are kind of under the radar, where it was because guys got shelled out. Yates just explodes. Thibaut Pinot goes away. Aru, these big explosions, and he was just kind of hanging in there. Carapaz was another one that did really well. That was kind of pathetic this year at the Vuelta. But I mean, young guys doing two races, pretty impressive. Kruijswijk was another one that was impressive at the Vuelta. So we have anything takeaway from the Vuelta for either one of you?
Well, just like you mentioned, Enric Mas. We saw him last year help Contador it was in the last week on one of the final stages. I don't know, it was maybe for a minute or two. Contador was going for glory to try and either close up the GC gap or go for a stage win. And I remember seeing him work with them, and to see him all of a sudden now, second step on the podium, that's a pretty quick progression for a young guy like that. So it's cool, good to see.
That's a good memory, because it was actually the Angliru where Contador, I think I'm pretty sure it is that one where he won on the last stage 20, and yeah, good memory there.
It was an interesting race for the sprinters as well. I don't think Sagan won a stage.
True.
Viviani certainly took his fair share of the wins, and the one time Viviani kind of found himself caught out was Buhani's first Grand Tour win, I believe. So it was interesting to see the different sprinters kind of take form there in that race.
So I don't know if you saw the one where Sagan basically had the win, but they blew it. The break stayed away. And if you look at the photo line finish, Walleyes is the guy's last name. Wally, but
Jelly?
Yeah, Jelly Walleye.
Yeah.
And you look at the photo finish there, and it looks like he just won the sprint, the field sprint, but because they were that close to catching him at the line.
Yeah, it was well timed on their part. And I saw the last kilometer of that, and Walleyes definitely timed his sprint well. He was incredibly patient, and just it seemed like he was comfortable with losing the sprint if it meant he didn't have to jump so early. So it was a really well timed effort on his part.
Yeah, and that's a risk. I remember several years ago, Chris Horner in the Tour de France in a breakaway with Sylvain Chavanel, and he was not going to come around, and Chavanel's yelling at him, and then they finally start their sprint, and they get pipped at the line. And I don't know, would you do that if that was your one chance would you not maybe take a pole? I mean, Horner's idea was I was willing to lose it to win it, because this is my only chance. I'm not going to beat him in a 2-up sprint unless I come from behind.
Yeah, that would be tough. I mean, they were definitely looking back, so they're coming at you, and it's impressive that he's able to be that patient and not jump early and not contribute to the pace there in the end. So it'd be tough to not get suckered into doing some work.
Anything for you, Curt, from this before I make one last comment that I saw today?
I would not do a lick of work. If the choice was a chance at winning, I think he played that real well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you would do the same.
I'd Stefan it and probably pull it from the front.
Yeah.
I saw today the TV viewership for stage 21 of the Vuelta was so bad. And in comparison to other, and they're like, at what point are these processional stages going to kind of just go away? They're They're not really anything. I didn't even see it. I was bored with
the
it.
Emmys were way down last night as well, so it's across the board.
Okay, well,
everyone's affected.
Yeah, it's certainly not stage 21 of the Tour de France. There's not the same spectacle that.
But even
draws
that one, I
people
think,
in.
goes down too.
I would say people probably tune in for the last 5K, but leading into it, I don't need to see guys doing the stupid chorus line on the bike.
Oh yeah,
Get rid of that.
I hate that.
That's one of my
Do
least
you like
favorite
that,
things.
Chris? Kurt?
No, I don't.
Kurt, do you,
You can
whatever.
ask
You
him
guys both
twice.
have C's. One of you
It's
check
my
it.
third time. See what he says. Yeah, I actually do like that.
You like the course line?
I mean, they're not going to race that day.
Well, they're not going to race, but jeez.
So, yeah, I kind of like that it annoys Chris. I'll be honest with you. I've heard this a few times. So,
I mean, they
enjoying it.
could put a time trial at the end. I mean, the Vuelta did that. Actually, it was the time I think Levi Leipheimer kind of came onto the scene and in the Vuelta, and he did well in the time trial on the last
good old
day.
days.
Yeah. Greg LeMond, I mean, they've obviously had last day time trial. It's kind of interesting. At least it puts a little suspense and interest in there.
Tom Dumoulin would be up for that.
He would. I saw where he took a video of himself pretending to take a dookie on the side of the road on that by that
I
side.
saw that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, I mean, you like the processional stage, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It starts late in the day. It's boring. Like you said, the last 5K is where I get excited about it.
Okay, fine. Just me.
It doesn't mean you're wrong.
Doesn't mean it's right.
No, I mean you're outvoted 2-1. Tell me why you like it.
Well,
I want to be convinced. I'm totally on the fence here. I just like the bike racing
because it's tradition for starters. It's I mean they've gone for three weeks of racing really hard, and you're just you're paying tribute to the guy and the team who won. So I don't know. I don't see any problem with.
Then don't call it a
doing something like
stage.
that.
Just have it be kind of a gentle
No one would
rolling
show
and
up.
celebration. I don't know.
Have you ever tried to explain to someone who peripherally knows cycling? They're like, "Oh, the last stage," and they're asking questions like, "Oh, so can the other guy win?" And then you're like, "No." And they're like, "Wait, but it's a bike race." Yeah, but they don't really race today. Have you ever had to try to explain that to someone?
I haven't. Nobody's
You don't have
taken
friends.
interest in cycling that I'm aware of. So no, I haven't had to explain that to anyone. I haven't had to. The last day, I've talked about exciting stages with like colleagues and
Hey, it's Game 7 of
randos,
the
but no.
NBA Finals, but they're just gonna do a chorus line.
Yeah, I was trying to think of another sport that does something similar. And
They
I'm
don't-
like,
they don't.
I was thinking of like match play in golf where they just like seed a putt or something. But yeah, I can't think of anything quite like
No, most of them they finish it out.
right.
Billiards, snooker, pool,
Bowling, perhaps.
bowling. I don't know.
Bocce. Do they do it in bocce?
Could be. I don't. Do you know? Do you play bocce?
Frequently.
What's your what highlight? Do you play that?
I'm a big high life fan. Yes.
All right.
What do you know about the Canadian races? What happened there?
Canadian races. So Quebec and Montreal.
Yeah.
Michael Matthews wins the first one and the second one.
That's impressive.
And it was the first one was a little more straight. I could get these wrong. One of them had, I think it was the second one, had a little bit more of a kick uphill, and he took he was wide right, and everyone was kind of on the left, and he, Michael Matthews, that is, just kept powering away, and then he decides to come into the line, and then kicks it again, and just the last two. Maybe it was like the last 10 feet where he went from like rear wheel on the guy. I'm trying to remember who got first to surpassing him. Like it was an amazing little last kick of speed. So it was impressive.
That's cool. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see those. I like those races, and I just didn't get the time to watch them, unfortunately.
The best was listening to the highlights in French, and because that's what they speak up there, and that's the only kind of video feed I could get. And I don't know what they're saying, and all of a sudden they say "Bling Matthews," and then they're going off.
Nice. Seems like too much racing for me. That's a lot of. I mean, I was looking at your little category or your listing of all the races that have gone on, and I wasn't even aware that the two races just occurred in Canada or the Tour of Britain. I wasn't aware of that, especially Stage 5, which looks exciting. But yeah, crazy.
There's so much, and then
We've
there's
been talking about that in NorCal, how many races there are, even just for us. But
and then there's a bunch of really good women races. I know the females just up in Mont Ventoux, they finished up there. I mean, there's so much going on. It's really hard to maybe need 2 or 3 podcasts, Curt, to cover all this.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tour of Britain, Alaphilippe wins that.
He won that, but it was good to see Greipel kind of come back and get a couple wins after he just got dumped from his Pro Tour contract. So kind of a I'm not dead yet type of race for him.
No, it was really good. And then one of you were arguing with me offline that Caleb Ewing is not quite the sprinter, but
Was that me?
Probably.
I don't know.
And but he was real impressive on his win, the second to last stage, or the last stage there. I don't know if you saw that at all.
No, because he's not a very good sprinter.
That's true. Jesus.
No,
You're a tough
kid.
crowd.
I think he's a phenomenal sprinter.
Any World Tour transfers that caught your eye lately? When I was riding home with Stefan, he was rattling these things off like he had. We were up at the Tahoe, and I drove home with Stefan in the Mutz Cuts van, and he was rattling off transfers like he was.
He follows that stuff, huh?
Oh, he was. It was an intense day of discussion of World Tour.
Gosh, that guy's got a lot of energy.
He does.
Not so much a transfer, but I noticed today that Wout van Aert told his team that he is out. So they were initially tied to Aqua Blue before Aqua Blue folded.
Yeah.
And then his team, Willems Kralans?
Yeah.
Partnered with Roompot.
Yeah.
Roompot Dutch, blah, blah, blah.
Sprinter or whatever, Spider,
Something.
Sprinter.
Yeah, so he told them, I'm out. This sucks. So he's no longer with them, and I guess he's a free agent or whatever the equivalent is in the World Tour.
Well, no, let me ask you this. Was he in contract for because it seems like he had a contract through 2019.
Yeah, he broke his contract.
So, okay. I wonder if he was had an out because they joined up.
There must have been some type of clause that said if the conditions of the team change, you have an opportunity to depart.
Which would be interesting to see if he signs up with someone else then.
I think he was tied to
Or if he just sits a year out.
Lotto Jumbo in 2019. So maybe he's just going to go straight there. I don't know. Maybe he'll just go solo in the cross world until he goes road.
Tony Martin to Lotto Jumbo. I know that was one that Stefan was excited about.
Was he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Ron Dennis to who is he going to? CCC or to?
No, I think he's going to Bahrain Merida.
Bahrain, yeah, that's right. That seems kind of weird. All right, how about any winners, losers for the World Tour for either one of you? You want me to go?
British cycling, the
Is
winner.
the loser? Oh, winner.
Just because they got the Triple Crown.
How do you feel about that? You feel a little like it's just gross.
Why would it be gross?
Because your initial text after the race was won was
just
like Hitler just won the Vuelta or something.
I don't know if that's right. I had started looking up some stats on the country, and that's all. I was doing some research, and I said that's pretty good.
It was very passive aggressive
for a country of 60-some million to have all three Grand Tours, and without a peak that's over the elevation that I live at. So
right.
Yeah.
But and I get it, but that's why they call Dutch Corner. They have Dutch Corner on Alpe d'Huez because so many Dutch winners with an elevation of that country of standing on a tulips. I mean, there's nothing in that country of elevation, but they win. They're good climbers, historically.
I think a lot of them don't live in the Netherlands or Great Britain. I think a lot of them live where there's mountains and do a lot of climbing.
Right.
So maybe they've grown accustomed to climbing.
I hear it all the time. They talk about why these Colombians are so good is because they all live at altitude.
I think some of them probably do.
But they don't always.
It's true.
I mean,
just most of the time.
Yeah. So, okay.
Nonetheless, how about you? Any winners for you?
I go the easy route with Ben King and. Sorry. I mean, not.
You didn't even have that written down.
What did I have? I don't have my notes in there. Tell me what I had written down.
We'll just
Michael
use
Bling Matthews.
Okay, Bling Matthews. There you go. He needed a. Is that wait? That's yours or that's mine?
That's yours.
Okay, we'll go. That sounds like a good pick. I like that.
That's
What
great.
do you got,
take?
Chris?
I'm going with Michael Woods.
Oh, what a shocker! What about Ben King?
To hell with him.
Terrible guy, from what I understand.
Yeah, he seems like a horrible person.
What was it 3-4 weeks ago? He allegedly caused that big crash that took out some riders, and he was the most hated guy in cycling.
He
and then
apologized.
He was all
very
over.
apologetic.
Not too many guys apologize afterwards. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and good things happen to good people.
Yeah, it was good to see him get a couple wins, but it was also really good to see Woods kind of make a stamp
totally
in the
agree.
Grand Tour. So
Yeah. Any losers?
and Michael Matthews. Good for him.
Matthews. Any losers? I'll go with one here, unless you see my list there. I don't know who I put down.
You put I'm not going to say what you put.
Did BMC get a win at the Vuelta?
Yeah, they won a time trial.
Okay, so they did not. That doesn't count.
Yeah, it does.
How dare they put that stage in that
Chris's
race?
favorite stage.
No, I mean like that. Okay, so Rowan Dennis comes out, wins the time trial, and then
I
backs
thought
off.
they had another win with DeMarchi or something like that.
All right, maybe they did.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that they perhaps had not, but perhaps they did. Richie Port, what a loser on the on the Vuelta. Seriously, we think of him as such a great potential tour winner. I mean, he's never been on the podium.
No, but he is the king of Wollonga Hill.
That's a pretty big hill.
It's Beatty for those around here.
Guys, he's got.
I like him.
DeMarchi won stage 12 with a pretty big gap, so he won solo with 30 seconds over Jonathan Restrepo.
Oh,
Valencia.
I do remember that one. Restrepo of Katusha was with a Colombian guy was with him, and they were really making an effort. Yeah, that was.
Looks like BMC had a pretty good tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, they're not the losers, except for they're going under. Chris, what about you?
Pass. Come back to me.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't we hit up some local stuff, and then we can get out of the parking lot and head home.
It's really comfy here, though.
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
Okay.
San Francisco Grand. What is it? The Giro de San Francisco, Chris?
Sure.
Kurt?
That sounds right. Yeah. What about it?
That's the one you said you were most excited to talk about.
I said
Kurt.
the Oakland Grand Prix, but I'll go with that.
I don't remember. It's been so long. It's been like 30 minutes.
So we were talking about long socks, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like a guy who's no longer wearing long socks did really well.
Yeah, he did pretty well. Looks like he's on an actual team now, too, instead of riding solo. So it looks like he got vacuumed up by Mike's Bikes and got in a little two-man move with Stephen Vogel, and they just
Skinner,
rode
you're
away.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went 1-2, and I don't know who got third. Field sprint.
I don't remember. It's been a while for that one. I did watch Jeff Linder's video.
I want to bring it all the way back to the first race of the year that Chris and I, or one of the first races of the year, Cherry Pie.
Yeah.
Chris and I were there. We were sitting in the car because it was a little bit cold.
And I'd crashed out.
And who did we call out as maybe the strongest guy in that field that day?
We didn't know his name at the time. We just called him Hands on Hoods because he was rolling around off the front, hands on hoods the whole time.
It was Robert Skinner, and now end of the year he might be kind of the breakout guy in the P12 field. I mean, he's just had an incredible year.
He's had a hell of a season. I mean,
right. I think he just took the TT.
Yes.
What's the name of the TT?
The Athlone
Time trial?
Yeah.
District Championship time trial. I think he was the best placed NCNCA rider at Nationals in the road race and the crit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Insane.
good results.
Sure.
Yeah, really impressive. I didn't see. Well, I was just going to say real quick. I saw Jeff Linder's video, and he got stuck on the. It was really impressive to see him going from like the back of the field with a lap to go. He thought there was 2 laps. He couldn't. He had on his video. He showed where the card placement was. It was way like in the crowd.
Yeah.
And then he's like asking someone. They're like, "Yeah, 1 to go. We're on the bell lap." He said there's a lot of other people ringing bells, and he goes from the back to the front and still tries to put in a sprint. He might have got top 10, which is really impressive. But
His videos have been good.
Yeah,
also.
he
I
did.
mean, really, really good all
Yeah.
season. Yeah, like I've always, like Nation's #1 Beast always has good stuff when he kind of reconstructs it. And Vegan Cyclist has done a really good job with some of his in-race breakdowns. And then Jeff Linder. I feel like there's this group of guys who are really starting to put together some great content for in-race kind of breakdowns. So
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I do like the narrative that they'll throw in there as opposed. I mean, the videos are fun to watch with it back to music, but hearing the breakdown in his thought process and why he's doing what he's doing when he's doing it, it's kind of cool to see that play out in the race and his thoughts there. So it's good to see, and he's got a little creativity that he mixes in to make the videos fun too.
what
Yeah.
is his what's his YouTube channel? NorCal Cycling Photos
Yes.
or something?
Yeah, NorCal Cycling Photos.
Yeah.
Which seems not to be at all tied in with Tarun. I don't know. I mean,
It's good
Jeff,
stuff.
Jeff,
though.
give us some clarification. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Speaking of videos, I did watch today Vegan Cyclists Bay Hill or Bay Area. What is it?
Red Bull?
Red Bull climb?
Red Bull
I was-
Bay Climb.
I was horribly disappointed that he he had Phil Guyman in there, and no warning that I was going to be watching Phil Guyman. So I got suckered into watching a Phil Guyman video.
He's friends with Phil.
Yeah, that's
You need to get over it.
Linder has a good video of the same race. I don't know if you've seen
I saw
his.
that one
Oh,
too.
did you?
The knockout.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Street Fighter.
Is that the Street Fighter one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, that was really well done.
Yeah.
A lot of power too in those
So he
legs.
ends up winning the backup heat or whatever the placing heat that Linder did.
Okay.
Some ungodly number. And what was cool about Vegan Cyclist when he was interviewing, talking to the guy that actually won.
Cool.
And he's so he said that he's the national champion for marathon distance mountain biking.
Weird.
Seems like it ties over to a minute 30 punchy climb pretty well.
Right. Point is, he was legit. He had quite the mustache too.
I guess he
is that 26.2 mile mountain biking. I don't know, what is that equate to?
That's a really good point. I'm like, wait, that's a crit.
Yeah. All right, go on.
I guess he had trouble clipping in the final heat, the guy that won, and so he kind of had to come from behind, but he still won with looked like 20, 30 yards
Post
with
up.
enough time for a good post up. So
Yeah.
he's got some power too.
Really sprinty type of thing there.
Yeah.
I'll say this: it is surprising the types of folks who are really good at those, and I'll draw it back to Nevada City and the Nevada City sprints. Watching some Cat 1s go up against guys dressed as clowns on BMX bikes with flat pedals and getting smoked by those guys. It's funny, like how if you can just turn a gear quickly and get your speed up. The climb at Red Bull looked a little bit longer and maybe required a little bit more talent, but
but you're exactly right, because you look at the breakdown there, and to give Phil Guyman some credit, he can go uphill really well, but it's not long enough. I mean, so he's getting smoked, in the placement field for a minute plus climb. It's going to be the case. I mean, some sprinter, Jeff Linder, who does real well in the finish, holds 800 watts or something for a minute.
It's pretty cool to see Phil show up.
I agree.
That's all I wanted to do, set you up.
No, but he had the Vegan Cyclist had the drone following him.
Did he really?
Oh,
Oh, that's
Jesus
cool.
Christ. That's what gets you
I haven't
excited.
seen it.
We should watch this.
Can I pull it up
It's
now?
like I just threw some hundreds down on the ground here.
Can we pause?
In the ghetto. Gee. So he had a drone following him. That's why I was asking that question. Good Lord.
I didn't know. I thought you saw.
Welcome. This is the Between Two Wheels podcast. Welcome for finally showing up 30 minutes in.
Well,
he's got another one where he does like a climbing KOM down in the Carmel Valley. That's one I've seen.
I just thought his wife was manning the drone.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means either. But seriously, I thought someone was manning the drone. But the way he said he was all by himself, and then he had all these cameras and he had the drone, and I figured, I've heard that technology, so cool.
Look at you with the news.
Figuring stuff out. Oakland, any other Bay Hill or Bay Area, whatever, the Red Bull thing?
They did a fixed gear one as well, and that'd be interesting to see. I don't do any fixed gear stuff, so it's all over my head. Be interesting to see what guys did for. Yeah, of course. I figure you guys know. I'd be curious to see what guys' thought process was for gear selection, because I imagine that makes a huge deal. Do you start with something you can accelerate quick with and maybe spin out? Do you start with something that you have to grind a little bit to get up to speed? I don't know what the thought process is that goes in there. So a lot of thinking as opposed to just regular
little grinding.
So the women's field, that was
Hannah
Moogie.
Yeah.
And then there was probably a fixed gear, which we don't have covered, because it looked like there were different bikes being raced.
I did see Chris Phipps was riding one of those town rental bikes.
Yeah.
I don't think he won on that, though.
No, probably
or
not.
won.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah. Oakland Grand Prix.
Good race.
Who wants to give that discussion?
I don't know anything about what happened there. I'm trying to. I think I've seen a podium. That's about it.
There
I
was
don't
a
even know who
little
was on the top step of the podium. I didn't.
I know Josh Carlin got second.
young Zach Gottsman from the North Bay. Good kid. Strong sprinter, track background.
Do you know him?
He used to ride a lot with Charlie
Okay.
way back when Charlie was on our team. So he came up here and did a couple rides, and we did a little training ride down around that area
What's his name?
during like San Rafael or something.
What was his last name again?
Zach Gottsman.
I mean, I saw the results. I just, when you mentioned that, I didn't know if I had ridden with him too, but does it ring a bell?
No. And then Roman Kaloun third. So he had a good season as well.
Now, what was the field size there? Because it always bothers me that it's not a. It bothers me. It looks like a good race, and then it's not a huge field, and it's probably
40 for the P1.
okay. That's not bad, because it seems like the last few years it's been a little thinner, and that's been the elite crit championships too. So Not this year. This year was Davis. USA crits. We had talked about that. I don't remember. Cliff Bar ended up taking those, and then Guten Plan did well on those as well. As far as the overall, I don't have the results with me.
Once it left Santa Fe, it kind of fizzled from my level of interest.
You know what? I watching that video of the vegan cyclist. They showed one of these Cliff Bar guys doing the a fixie, and it reminded me of my harsh words about them at Davis, and then the realization when they were doing the crit that there's this. It's like two different teams. It must be like a minor and major league team. Maybe I'm still having harsh words about them because they were not. I mean, they're guys that were doing the USA crits were impressive.
Maybe they just some of them. Sometimes they're really in shape. Sometimes they're not. Maybe they just swing a little further.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know. I'm not going to criticize them. I think they're a good team, and I think they're all nice guys. And
I don't. Yeah,
they're always giving people high fives and so forth. So it's kind of nice.
All right. Any winners, losers from the NorCal?
Can I list us as losers for just not racing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even trying to ride this week.
That too.
How about let's give one to a couple of the older guys, Roman and Josh Carling for, gosh, they've been doing it for a long time. And,
you're calling them winners, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I call
winners
us
for
losers.
closing out the season strong, knowing how to pace themselves and still end up on a podium. Basically the last criterium of the year. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And there's two guys that are strong throughout the season.
Right. I agree, and that Sprinkler is agreeing with
That
this
is
too.
a strong stream.
Strong stream. We'll finish up here. The time trial Masters. What'd you see from that?
Dan Bryant crushed everybody. That was kind of to be expected. Michael Claudio took a win as well. I think he's in the 40 to 45 category now.
Okay.
So kudos to him. And then I think Rob Schell won the 35 to 39 age group. Beyond that, I do not know.
Well, congrats to all those people out there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think as Curt noted, Mr. Skinner won the P1 too.
Oh, so they did have a P1 too.
Yeah.
And was Dan? Did I hear it right? Dan Bryant's time would have beaten everybody no matter what division he was in.
That is correct.
Jeez, that's impressive. But you asked the question, wasn't it you, Curt? That what's motivation to even go out there when you're a world champion?
We had been drinking.
Curt said a lot of things
right.
he may not remember.
I do recall something about that question, but I don't know if I want to repeat it here.
Can we go back up to the conversation on the boat about it was a good weekend. We'll have to do that again. A lot of good riding up in Tahoe. Have you done the lake loop up there?
I have, yes.
And what do you think of it? I've never done it. It looks
it's a great loop to do. I did it in the fall during the middle of the week. And it was great. It was wonderful. I would highly recommend it. Doing it in the summer.
Traffic.
Yeah. Traffic gets a little bit crazy, and I think that would be a little bit rough. But, it's beautiful.
Is most of the climbing there by the Rubicon area where no, there's more on the other side? Because Stefan said it's all just completely flat.
No,
Of course, he went skiing one day and then went and did that the next in the snow.
Spooner's like a 3-4% grade for I don't know, 10 miles, 15
Thereabouts,
miles. Yeah.
And then the fun part is you get to descend the next side. So you descend into South Lake, and it's pretty cool. I did it 3 years ago, middle of summer on a Sunday. And I could see traffic being bad, but in general, it wasn't too bad for us. There was a lot of road construction that created a lot of traffic gaps for our benefit. So it was fun. It was myself, Andrew, and Casey were out there doing it after Tour de Nez. So it was pretty fun. Scenic. A lot of opportunity to take in the view of the lake. So
all right.
Highly recommended.
All right. Any other comments on that?
Just do it clockwise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
World Championship. We'll end on this. World Championships is coming up. You guys have, I know Froome and Geraint Thomas are not doing it. It's a really hilly, climby GC type of event. Any predictions for that?
Not so much prediction, but backing up a little bit to the Athlone time trial. Melanie Wong won the women's P1-2, and you got to give her some credit for that. So well done there.
So Melanie Wong also owns the time trial state championship, the crit state championship, and the road race state championship. all this season.
That is impressive.
So
That's the
triple
trifecta.
crown of state championships.
That really
Is there a
really-
special jersey for that? Like a bear
There
with
are
a crown on
3
it?
special jerseys for that.
But like, there's got to be a very unique one for that.
I don't know. She should make something up, but that's cool. You can basically always wear your state championship jersey.
Races for free whenever she wants.
That is true. Yeah. So good for her.
So any
Congratulations.
predictions on Worlds? I mean, I think you might get an Adam Yates coming out of, not Simon, but Adam, someone that's
Can
or
they
even
tag in and out mid-race? You think that's a viable option?
They could. That might be a little bit more noticeable.
Just go back to the medical car and swap bikes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting because it's a climbing mountain race, but from what I recall, Froome and Thomas aren't doing it.
Right.
So I don't know who the UK team is selected to represent them as a whole.
Steve
They get a
Cummins.
lot of riders. So it'll be interesting. It'll be slightly different, I think, than the Grand Tour mountain stage just because it's so brutal. It's one day. Guys are all going to be going for it. There's no playing it safe. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. How did Nibali look toward the end of the race?
He would get up the road and then come off the groups, and it was near one of the last stages, 20 or 21, where I saw him fighting up the climb, probably further than the whole race. So halfway up, he was still kind of hanging.
Okay.
Sepp Kuss got elected for the USA team. I know Nilsson Palace is on the U23 team. That one actually is the interesting because McNulty, I think, made that one.
Yeah.
So the U23 US team looks pretty good.
Yeah, and I think, who was it that won for Evolo at Colorado?
Gage Hetch
I think he got selected for the team as well.
makes sense.
But I think they've also got Ben King going for the U.S. And I think
Yeah.
he's been designated the team leader.
And I saw Stetna, and then also read at the same time that he is without contract.
We're switching races there for a second.
Well, we're going back and forth between the U23, but it's all the same race. I mean, it's just different category.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, Stetna is without contract and may be retiring, and yet gets selected for Worlds.
Right. Good opportunity to show what you got. But unfortunately, with so many teams folding, it's going to be hard to find a place to call home.
You just mentioned another one today.
Yeah, I think it was JLT Condor said
Yeah.
they're not going to renew their sponsorship this year.
Yeah.
And who is it? Holoesco Citadel.
Right.
They are pulling their sponsorship, and they haven't even had an opportunity to apply for a new Pro Conti license.
And they were making overtures of, we're going to be in the tour in the next
Right.
few years. And, well,
UHC, I don't think I've heard they've found a new sponsor, so they're out.
yeah.
Jelly Belly's out.
Any things that make you go,
Things that make you go,
Yeah, where are those sponsors go?
Right. Here, how about this one? Athlete banned from all-you-can-eat restaurant for eating all that he could eat. A German triathlete inhaled nearly 100 plates of sushi. This reminds me of the Louis Anderson. I don't know if you ever heard the skit where he goes into the all-you-could-eat Chinese restaurant. Yeah, so it's a German triathlete. He was banned from an all-you-could-eat restaurant in Bavaria after eating a little too much. That's impressive. You ever done that?
Eaten too much? Yes, I have. All season long.
I've definitely eaten too much, but I've never been kicked out of a restaurant for it.
Yeah,
So.
and me either. Either one of you have an interesting cycling tale?
Cycling tale. No, I really enjoyed riding my bike in Tahoe this past weekend. Granted, I only did it for one day. It was cool to ride on some new roads, so look forward to doing that again at some point.
Agreed. That was a fun climb. We did up that Baxter Pass.
Yeah, I think
Barker Pass was really good as well.
What was?
Barker?
Was that what it's called?
Yeah.
Why did I say Baxter?
I don't know.
Bastard. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winter is, or I guess winter's coming in pretty quick here. Do you guys have plans for winter riding once we start losing daylight as early as we have been? Trainer time?
Stop.
Yeah. Can we? No, Chris.
I
don't
do
either.
know that the range over at which course is that over there? Hagen Oaks is open, I think, 24 hours. So
Yeah, that's true.
time well spent there.
Good at that.
I don't like hitting off of the mats, though. It's a false sense of security.
True.
So-
but it's better than not hitting sometimes.
I totally agree with that, too.
And when it's dark at night, you can usually inch forward and start hitting off grass, and you might just get chased off after a bucket. So
Right.
True.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. Either nothing else for either one of you guys. Well, enjoy it out there, cycling fans. We'll be doing some more recaps this winter. Maybe do a little bit more off the bike stuff, and
Maybe a lot more cross coverage.
there we go. We do need to get into that.
Yeah. Got a lot of expertise we need to record.
We could talk about the dismount.
Sure.
because that looks difficult. Maybe we'll do some practice videos. You want to start filming those, Curt? That's fine with me. Well, Chris, thanks for joining.
Thank you for hosting.
Curt, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Tyler.
All right.